Hi guys! So we're back to talk more about fractions, and today we're going to start lesson 3. But before we jump into our new stuff, I kind of want to go back and recap what we talked about last week, okay? So we're talking about fractions, okay? And when we talk about fractions, a fraction is something that looks like this. Okay? We have a number on top. What's that number called? Our numerator. We have a number on the bottom. What's that number called? Our denominator. Remember my wrestling example? It makes me think of a wrestler who's like, denominator, and he throws people to the ground. So that's our denominator, okay? Whenever we are talking about fractions as part of a whole, and that's what we talked about last week, we have one whole thing. So like here's my one whole pizza. My denominator tells me how many parts are there total. So how many parts are in my whole? 4. How many parts am I talking about or looking at or counting? That's what my numerator tells me, just 1. So I have 1/4 of this whole circle shaded, okay? 1/4 is also a unit fraction. Do you remember we talked about unit fractions? Unit fractions are just one part of the whole, okay? What if I colored another section of my whole? Then what would my fraction be? Well, my denominator's not going to change because I still have 4 parts total. But what will my numerator be? Yeah, it's going to be a 2. So now my fraction is 2/4. All right, have I jogged your memory? Do you feel like you remember? Good. So what I want you to do now is go ahead and grab your workbook, turn to page 581, and now we're going to talk about fractions as part of a set, okay? So we're changing up a little bit how we're going to look at fractions. So let's look at example 1. Mrs. Maynard gave each group of students 2 yellow and 4 red markers. What fraction of the set of markers is yellow? So instead of having one whole thing, like a whole circle or a whole square, now we have a group of items, okay? It's not one whole, it's several items. So the first thing that we can do is use a set of 6 counters to represent the 6 markers. If you have counters at home, you can use them, but if you don't, they give us an example of counters right here, okay? So 4 red markers are what those 4 red counters represent, and 2 yellow, so 2 yellow markers, okay? So when we say counters, you can even just draw circles and color to represent that. So then step 2 says, draw and color the counters on the fraction below to represent the fraction of yellow counters. So that picture is a little bit confusing. All it means is that my bottom number is going to be how many markers do I have total. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 markers total. 4 red, 2 yellow. My top number is how many yellow markers do I have? Because that's what my question wants to know. What fraction is yellow? So how many yellow markers do I have? 2. So my fraction of markers that are yellow is 2/6. Okay? So see how that's a little bit different than fractions as a whole? Instead of counting just the parts of one thing, now we're looking at a set and seeing how many there are total. So if we, I got a new marker and it's not working too well. Okay, so if we look down here, we can see our fraction is 2/6. 2 yellow parts for 6 parts total. So the fraction of yellow markers, and you can fill this in on yours, is 2/6. All right, let's go ahead and turn the page and see another example. here we go. Let's look at example number 2. Cody told his 4 dogs to sit. See, he has 4 dogs. What fractions of the set of dogs listened to Cody? So we want to know what fraction actually sat. So first of all, we have to figure out how many dogs do I have total? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. How many of them sat? Well, this good boy did, this good boy did, and this good boy did. So how many are sitting? 3. So 3/4 of Cody's dogs actually listened. So we would write 3/4, okay? And then we say that as 3, because that's my numerator, 4ths, that's my denominator. So now, if 3/4 did listen to Cody and they sat, how many did not listen and remained standing? Which that's what my dog would do. He wouldn't listen. All right, so how many dogs are still standing? 1. 1 dog out of a total of 4 dogs is standing. So what fraction is that? My denominator is not going to change because I still have 4 dogs. Okay, and 1 of them is standing. So my fraction is 1/4 of the dogs did not listen to Cody. Good. So let's practice a couple more. Okay. I have some counters. Okay, I'm going to put them up here. Whoops. Okay. So there's my counters. I want to know what fraction of my counters is blue. So what's the first thing that I need to do? I need to count how many I have total, right? So I can figure out my denominator. So let's count. How many fractions are there total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my denominator is going to be 8. I want to know what fraction of those is blue. How many blue counters do I have? 1, 2, 3. So the fraction of counters that are blue is 3/8. Good, does that make sense? All right, now I want you to try one on your own. Okay. Can you tell me what fraction of the counters is red? Okay, I want you to tell me, write me a fraction telling me what fraction of the counters is red. You can pause the video, count, and write your answer, and then hit play when you're ready to check. All right, what did you write? Well, first of all, we need to figure out what's our denominator. How many counters do I have total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my denominator is going to be 5. How many of them are red? What fraction is red? 1, 2, 3. So 3/5 of my counters are red. Is that what you wrote? Okay, good job. So now you're going to go ahead and hop down below on the page and continue practicing in your workbook.